Welcome to another edition of the Hoop Scoop. I'm Jared Johnson, and first off, I want to wish everybody out there a happy New Year, and I hope they had a great Christmas and holidays with family and friends. But Texas Tech is back to work, and they've opened up Big 12 play, splitting the first two games. First off, a disappointing home loss to UCF, actually on New Year's Eve. But then they bounced back with a really impressive 28-point road victory at Utah just this last Saturday. Now they look to complete a 2-0 road sweep in the state of Utah by taking on a BYU team, 7 p.m. Central Time Tuesday night, that looks remarkably similar to Texas Tech on paper, at least. Both teams are 10-3 overall. Both teams are 1-1 in Big 12 play. And, both teams have nice wins, but also very disappointing losses. BYU beat Arizona State by, I believe, like 31 points, something like that, and around the same area that Texas Tech dispatched Utah. But then BYU went to Houston and lost by a pretty big margin. I believe it was 31 points. Houston, obviously, is a very good program, especially tough to beat there in H-Town. But that's where the two teams sit, 1-1 in Big 12 play, 10-3 overall. I do believe BYU is 8-0 at home this season. Both teams are high-scoring teams that average in the 80s. I believe Texas Tech's averaging over 86 points a game, while BYU's averaging 82.5. So I do expect kind of a shootout there in Provo. But BYU gets the benefit of playing at home. They have a great fan base, so that will be difficult as well. One thing I really liked seeing from Texas Tech and their bounce-back win over Utah was Darion Williams played much better than he did in the Big 12 opener against UCF. He had 19 points, I believe it was. He was double-digit scoring, 9 assists and 5 rebounds, which is what we've come to expect from one of the most versatile players, not only, I believe, in the Big 12, but in the country. He looked really good. I also really like the emerging two-man high screen and roll game from Elijah Hawkins, who I believe is either second or third in the Big 12 in assists, and Federico, who has really been producing at a high rate. Most of his shots, of course, are dunks or layups, but a lot of alley-oops. It actually reminds me of the Dallas Mavericks last year when Luka and Kyrie would be setting up Derek Lively and Gafford on those alley-oops, which was very difficult to defend. Hawkins also made 3 or 4 shots from deep, so he was a threat there. And I think I don't expect him to be a big output scorer in terms of three-point shooting, but if he could at least be a consistent threat that opposing defenses have to honor, that'll make that two-man game, that high screen and roll game, even more deadly. One thing I would like to see or two things I'll say. You know what? I'll go 3. I'll go 3 things for you I'd like to see. First off, and I'll get the obvious out of the way, Tech has to be better on defense than they've been for most of the season. Now, the second half against Utah, they were very good, but also Utah missed some open shots as well. But still, I want to give credit where it's due. Tech played much better defense towards the end of the first half and in the second half of that game. That's the kind of effort Tech is going to need because the offense, for the most part, is going to consistently be there. They have so many skilled players. And that leads me to the next thing I want to see is Chance McMillan, who I consider an elite college player in terms of as an offensive basketball player. He's just very skilled. He's a 3-level scorer. He can get to the hole and finish. He's one of the best three-point shooters in the country. And he has a good mid-range game, too. He can create off the dribble and pull up and create his own shot. I'd like to see him get more involved, get more shots up, and then run more action for him earlier in the game. The first 2 Big 12 games, especially the game against UCF, I don't think he made his first shot until like midway through the second half. That can't happen. He's too good of a player. And it was mostly just that he wasn't getting opportunities. I think they need him to run more action for him. And then against Utah, it wasn't quite as late as that, but he didn't really have a lot of shot attempts until deep into the first half. And once he did, that kind of opened up things for other parts of the offense and other players. And I just think he's too good of a player to not get more shots. He's an efficient player as well. So it's not like he needs a ton of shots, but I think he needs to be more heavily involved earlier than what we've seen in the first 2 games. And then number 3, JT Toppin needs to stay out of foul trouble. He picked up 2 fouls early in that game against Utah, sat for long stretches because of that. He came in, played well, still had double-digit scoring, and was, still presence on the boards, not as much as we've come to expect. But in Federico played really well for him. But I'd like to see an opportunity, like Monty Joe's been saying, maybe both of them to play together, or at least JT Toppin to be more of the offensive threat that Tech needs him to be, in terms of he needs the minutes, he needs to be on the court. They need to work inside out when they just need a bucket, throwing the ball down to him on the block. But he's got to obviously be on the court, out of foul trouble in order to do all that. So it's a really good challenge for Texas Tech against BYU, who's I think is a good team. Like I said, on paper, they look remarkably similar in many ways. But it'll be another more input for us to know just how good or not is this Texas Tech team. And I think we all are kind of wondering that. But another big road victory here against BYU Tuesday night would be huge. So for now, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.